Hello everyone, this is Seth Dark Arts, and I'm back once again with my 9th video. And yeah, I missed all you guys out there. Good comments coming back in from a lot of people. Thank you. I believe your username is Reforestation. Thank you for the video link you sent me. Very interesting. And once again, Billy Boy 7465 has shot another question at me that I will address in a minute. But yeah, I haven't made one in a few days, but here we are once again. And yeah, today I'm going to talk about a few different issues, a few things before I get out of here. And let's see, what I'm going to start with is, last time, I can't really remember now which video, but I was talking about science. I believe that possibly was the 7th video, and how when you try to explain your feelings or your experiences to people, they will always try to rationalize or come up with a scientific explanation. And I had a very interesting experience quite recently where I was talking to a person who is a person in the field of science, and somehow the topic of psychic phenomenon and things like that, it popped up somehow. And I shared with this person my story about the coin I told you about. You all remember this coin? I told you that the voice led me to it, directly to where to find it. And yeah, my inner self took me there. And if you can remember what I said in the 7th video, I said a person with this type of thinking will probably say, no, what happened was actually you saw this coin and you didn't realize it, and it was in your subconscious, and then you remembered it. Well, man, this is funny, because that is word for word exactly what this person said to me. Unbelievable. I told him my story. I told him that I had no idea about this coin was in this particular store. I didn't even know that they had this section in the store, this glass case with any coins. Like I said before, if you want to know the story, go back to the 7th video. But basically, there was no way possible I could have known this coin was there. And my inner self took me there. And he said exactly what I said. He told me that I went to the store one day and I must have noticed it subconsciously, and I just picked up on it, and it was completely impossible for me to be led to this coin without any prior knowledge to it. What can I say? I'm not here to argue. That's his opinion, and he's free to have his opinion. He's entitled to his own thoughts on a subject. Whether he agrees or not, the fact is, it still happened. This situation still went down the way I said it did. And I don't care how many degrees or titles a person has on their name, I know what happened. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. Now, what comes up next is, I just want to address Billy Boy's comment real quick since I'm already here. What he said was, alright, he thanked me for the video, and basically he said, his question was, where does all this lead? What do you intuit is the purpose of the knowledge of the Overself? And well, actually, let me read to you the whole thing. Okay, he said, first off, thanks for addressing my question in video 7, and thanks to your videos and Rich West's videos, which are good. I am building up the nerve to seriously get into astral traveling. Somehow I suspect everything you're saying is true. I find this very odd, as I've not visited those astral realms in this lifetime, or so I think. So this leads to one of my ridiculous questions. Where does all this lead? What do you intuit is the purpose of the knowledge of Overself? And can one visit those realms for curation of the body? Alright. Excuse me. Now, where does all this lead? good question. What is the purpose of all of this stuff? Why are we sitting here and talking about trying to go out of body? Why are we stressing ourselves? Well, not stressing. I hope no one's stressing. But why are we, really just pushing this on ourselves and trying to get these things working in dreams? And the purpose is this, or at least this is the purpose that I came up with. And I read a few other people's books who basically said the same thing, but I kind of came into this on my own intuitively. From the lucid dreaming, or what we call lucid dreaming, my conclusion was that this was basically preparation to prepare us for death when we die. What we experience in these other realms through either deep meditation or the sleep process of dreaming, this is actually preparing us for what we will experience when we leave this physical life and we cross over to other realms of reality. Now, this was the conclusion that I came to on my own, by myself. And when I came into the Seth material, it basically said exactly the same thing. That dreams and out-of-body experiences are basically preparations for us when we die and leave physical reality. And the dream body, which is also called the astral body, this is the body that you will have for some time after you pass away and leave physical reality. And the reason it looks like a physical body is because this is what we're used to. And at some point, once we expand even more and grow even more, we won't necessarily need to keep that particular image of how we look. We could keep it if we want to, but we could take on other shapes or other appearances, or perhaps even appearances that we've had from other lifetimes, whether it's a reincarnational self or other realities. As I said before, all time is simultaneous, so all these things are happening now. But just say for example, sorry, stuttering here. But just say for example, if I was to die and I have this body, the one that I have right now, perhaps I don't have any strong connection to this image of this physical body, and perhaps I had a closer attachment to the way I probably would look in, just say, the 15th century or 2,000 years from now. That might be the image that I feel suits me better. So upon physical death, at some point I'll probably just change it to whatever matches my particular feelings, and that's what I'll manifest. But basically, once you get more advanced, you can probably just take on any form that you want, whatever it is. So, yeah. And as far as your question for curation of the body, I'm not sure if I completely understand the question, but I don't know if are you asking me about, could all of this out-of-body experiences and dreaming activity help in curing the body? And yes and no is my answer. That's it. No, I'm just kidding. No, what I mean is, no as in, if you have any physical disabilities, and when I mean physical, I mean, example, a missing arm, a missing finger, a missing body part. No, it cannot help you in regrowing limbs, such as regeneration or something like that. We have to accept what we have here, whatever happens to us here as far as the physical body goes. We can't just suddenly start regenerating limbs. Not saying that it's not possible. It is possible, but in other levels of reality, but not here in physical reality, because we have to follow the basic I'm trying to find the word, but I can't think of it right now. I apologize, everyone. But basically, there is a group. How do I say this? Everyone has a basic assumption of what physical reality is supposed to be, and yeah, we all agree to a certain level on what is possible and what is not possible. So probably this is the word I was looking for. The mass belief system for physical reality is people don't grow limbs back suddenly. If you lose an arm, no one is going to grow a second arm back. Not saying that it's not possible, but that is not the mass belief system for this reality, so it will not happen. However, you can help yourself as far as some diseases go. I'm not telling anyone don't go to the doctor. You have to continue seeing a doctor and taking medicine because that is the belief system for this reality, and people still believe in it, and it still holds a very strong belief system. But we've all heard stories of people miraculously healing themselves from cancer or some other ailment, and these things do happen. And basically, everything that happens, physical manifestations as disease or these illnesses, they stem from inside of us. And what really happens is, and I know this is hard to believe for some people, but stress and all these other things, when you have all these contradicting ideas that build up, and basically your body is out of whack. You're not in tune with yourself. You're worried about stress, work, making money, the kids, who likes me, who doesn't like me. This person said this about me in 1958. Oh, what did this person do to me 20 years ago? I could never forgive them. All of that is basically pulling our consciousness and pulling who we are into all these different areas. And when we have all this blocking our natural flow, these things start to manifest in physical illnesses, diseases, and stress. You know, a lot of times you go to the doctor and say, oh, I have this illness, you know, my skin is breaking out in a rash. And doctors will very quickly scream, stress. Okay, you have stress. That's why this is stress. And they are right to an extent, but they don't go into detail. They just tell you stress, and that's it. It's okay, well, I have stress. Well, what they fail to explain is that this is the stress manifesting itself in physical form. So you have all this stress. It has to come out somehow. And if you don't take care of this and try to relieve yourself of it, it begins to manifest and it will erupt into illnesses. So I hope I gave you a very brief explanation as to how that goes. As for myself, I rarely get sick. I mean, I'm not really a sick person. I can't remember me getting sick too often, and I truly believe it's because of my lifestyle. I live a very laid-back lifestyle. You know, some people say laziness, but hey, call it what you want. I refuse to get stressed over anything. I'm not going to get stressed, and you shouldn't let anyone make you stress. Don't let people bring you out of your element, because there's always going to be someone out there who's an unhappy person, and they will try to make you unhappy. The phrase goes, misery loves company, and that is very true. When someone is unhappy, they will do everything in their power to make you and everyone else around them unhappy. People like that, you just ignore them. And yeah, you just ignore them. Don't even worry about them, because they're not important anyway. They're just extras walking around, and their role is not very supportive anyway, so who cares what they think? If they want to get angry and vent and rave, you just let them do their thing. That's their right. They have the right to be angry, but you have the right also to not let it be directed at you. And if that does happen, you can handle it any way you see fit. You could tell them to, F off and go their own way, or you could just simply ignore them. Because when you give attention to the problem, this is what they feed off of. They need you to buy into it. So when a person's going off on a rant and, trying to get things mixed up and stirring up the pot, they dwell on you buying into it, and this keeps the fire fueling, and it keeps it going on, and this is their form of entertainment. So don't buy into it. People who are stressed out, got emotional issues, let them be. That's their choice, that's their life, let them have it, but just don't buy into it. Unfortunately, they don't realize their godhood, they don't realize their own power, but you do. So use your power to the most beneficial Just focus your power to the most beneficial areas for you. Don't worry about what other people are doing, because whatever they're doing, as long as it's not affecting you or hurting you, who really cares? And I know that might sound a little cold. I'm not saying just ignore things and people who are going around hurting other people. I'm not saying it from that angle. I'm speaking about specifically, example, if you're in an office type setting at work, or even family members. You can have, people don't think so. Family members can be the worst problems in your life sometimes, coming at you from different angles. They're stressed out, so they try to push their problems on you. You need to just leave these people alone. Sometimes trying to help people is actually the worst thing, because if you're always trying to help them, you might not be helping them. You might be stopping their growth. Perhaps they need to go through this. They need to have a hard time to learn from their experiences. If you're always trying to hold them up and give them a pass, then they never learn and they will continue stressing you out. So sometimes people need to hit rock bottom and see what it feels like to learn an important lesson that they're not learning because you are out of love. And I'm not saying it's wrong. Of course, we all love our families and friends, but out of love, you're trying to help this person and is actually working against them and you on a physical, mental, emotional, and a psychic level, even spiritual. So, yeah, all these things affect your consciousness. Now, the next area I want to go into, let me see, I like to make notes because I have so many things and I don't want to leave anything out. Alright, another point I would like to get on. This is basically about, Seth material stuff now. I'm going to throw it out. Now, I already went into the Seth material and why I liked it, but I'm going to touch on it again briefly. One of the things I like about this material is that it's basically, even all the stuff that Seth says, he says many things and he gives his explanation of reality, but even after all of that, even he says this is only reality from his point of view. Yes, he has a larger viewpoint because he's outside of physical reality, but at the same time, this is reality as it seems to him from his perspective. So even he says that there are portions of reality that he is not aware of at the time, and that he possibly has to grow more. So what that says to me is that we can probably access areas that even he has not been privy to or opened up to yet. Because if anything is possible, then that has to be one of the possibilities as well. And I remember in one of his audios I was listening to, he basically said, and I just wrote it down a little bit, and this is paraphrasing, but very close, and he basically said this to the ESP class that was going on. He said, with the material, the Seth material, he said, each of you in your own way will creatively do your own thing with the material or your interpretation of it, and this is why it has been given to you. But there will be no new organization, no new religion, or no new occult, but there will be a brotherhood of men and women who know themselves and will explore the nature of their own reality subjectively and objectively. And he also said, you do not need credentials. Meaning, this is what really gets me going. This is one of the things that makes me, I don't get angry, but this kind of annoys me sometimes. When you hear a person having a talk on consciousness or something that's supposed to be completely outside of physical reality, but before they start, they have to start throwing out their credentials. It's like, yes, my name is Dr. So-and-so, and I went to this university, and I graduated from XYZ, and they throw out all these titles, and it's like, well, okay, that's nice, but so what? What you're talking about has no connection to any of this. So in order to gain credibility or street credit, they feel that they have to throw out all these academic titles after their names to make themselves seem more believable and credible in the eyes of the people. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having these credentials, but if we're going to start talking about other realities and these areas, whatever title that you have, it's completely just, there's no correlation between it. You can't talk about entering out-of-body states and going into other alternate dimensions of reality and still waving your prestigious university degree around or some title as leverage, because it just doesn't matter. It's like, so what? Who cares about this piece of paper? Because that's all it is. And the reason I'm against this is because, yes, these people do have something to bring to the table, but at the same time, all that tells me is that the higher they throw out these, the more they throw out these titles, it tells me the more of the system that they're in, they're more brainwashed into that system of thinking. And they're in a certain paradigm that could possibly be very limiting in their scope of what's possible and what's not possible. So, yes, it's nice, but at the same time, it doesn't really help in these issues, because we're talking about things that are completely outside of time and space. So I seriously doubt your degree from Harvard has anything to do with realities that exist outside of time and space. That's all I'm saying. I'm not knocking anybody. You want to go to school, do your thing, get your paper, have fun. I'm not against it. All I'm saying is, don't use that as any type of credibility when you're coming into these subjects, because I said before in another video, when you come into this stuff, race, nationality, male, female, all of that goes out the door. It's history. You need to leave it on the back burner. Why? Because we exist on many levels at once. Right now, I'm sitting here in front of you on this camera. I am a male, yes, but at the same time, I'm also a woman in 50 million other realities, if not more. And I'm also other species. And that's another point that I would like to bring up. While we're so busy talking about race as a species, black, white, all these type of things, people fail to realize there's also different species of consciousness that exist. So when you get into these ideas of different types of consciousness that exist and species of consciousness, this would explain why some people are just completely seem to be outside the box of everything and no one understands them, because not only have they not limited themselves within the paradigm of race and nationality, they simply are not even a part of this construct. Their thinking is just completely way outside the box, and that's why they seem to be eccentric, weirdos, freaks, or any of these titles. And they're not necessarily crazy, they're just different. They just haven't bought into this paradigm of belief. And yeah, I saw something else that caught my attention, and that was about, okay, yeah. Now, somebody told me, of course, there always has to be a hater. Haters, here to come the haters, man. He goes, well, if your information is so important, why don't you have so many subscribers? And I have this to say to them. Yes, I don't have so many subscribers. I probably have, I don't know how many now, but, maybe under 30. But you know what? That doesn't bother me at all. I've said it before. If I only had one subscriber and that person was being helped and I was helping them and opening up their consciousness, then I would be satisfied with that. And yes, why I don't have so many subscribers? Well, one reason is generally people just like to hear bullshit. And excuse the language, everyone out there, but people like to hear bullshit. People want to hear about reptilians, illuminati, the Rothschilds, black ops, what people are doing. And I'm not saying any of those things are not real. I'm not saying they're not real. And I might be contradicting myself because I just said bullshit a minute ago. But what I mean by bullshit is these things are real. They're real in the sense of, because we've spent so much time focusing on them, of course, I said before, thoughts manifest, and they have electromagnetic reality. So all these things are real. They exist. If not in this reality, they exist in others. But all these ideas of reptilians, illuminati, yes, it is real because we have made it real, and possibly, well, it probably is real in this reality, but because of us really focusing on this, we've just made it even bigger than what it really is. And when people go into these ideas of reptilians and all this stuff, yes, what I just said before about different species of consciousness. What I believe, and this is just one of my theories, is that this whole idea of reptilians and this kind of thinking is that perhaps this is not, I mean, this is a species of consciousness that basically has got the upper hand over other types of consciousness. And when people say the reptilians are running the world and they're in the government and all that, for me, that's just another type of consciousness that basically it's a type of consciousness, a species of consciousness that is in physical body form, and it just has its own goals and agenda, just like everybody else has their own goals and agenda. I think we put too much energy into this stuff about, you know, reptilian symbols, the pyramid, the eye, the all-seeing eye on the dollar, and just all this stuff. And look, we are all powerful. Yes, these things exist, and we should know about them. We should know about what's going on and listen to all information. And intuitively, you will filter between what you think is bullshit, what sounds credible, and what lies right in the middle of possibility. But anything is possible, so I'm not saying that these things are completely false and they're not real. If they're not existing here, then they are existing in another reality. So it is real, basically. Anything you think of becomes real. But my point is this. Okay, let's say there are some illuminati out here and reptilians and all this stuff. So, I don't want to go into profanity, but so what? So what? How is this helping us? This is not helping us. It's not helping you. And it's just not helping the situation or the cause of opening your mind. If there are reptilians running around, then hey, they got their act together. They're doing their thing, and they're not concerned about you. They're not sitting around worried about what you're doing. Are they sitting home going, oh my God, you know, what's this person doing on the weekend? They don't care. They feel they have their own objective, whatever it is, and they're going about it in their own way. And either we can sit back and scan video channels all day looking at symbolism and what these characters are doing, or we can say, who cares? That's their freedom. They have the choice to go their own way and do what they want to do, whether it's world domination or whatever people think it is. But we also have a choice to just completely ignore them and do our own thing. And that's what it's basically about. Doing your own thing. Do you. Don't worry about what anybody's doing. I don't care if it's reptilians, the Greys, the ETs, Draconian, all these names that people throw out. Like I said, I'm not bashing anybody. I'm not trying to trash anyone else's videos who have this stuff out. Yes, these things are important, and we should know about them. But at the same time, this is not the time to be concerned about what other people or entities or other forms of consciousness are doing. Yes, be aware of it, but at the same time, do your own thing. If you were aware of your own powers instead of worrying about what these other things are doing, you would not be worried about this stuff, because you would say, well, yeah, that's cool or not cool what they're doing, but I'm an all-powerful, multidimensional being, so that shit doesn't bother me. You know, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about what they're doing because they can't touch me. And people will say, of course, well, you know, they could kill you. Well, even if they did kill me, yes, it would be sad, and I would hate to miss out on seeing my loved ones, friends, and family anymore, but they can't kill me. Yes, they could take me out of physical reality, but I'll just keep going into another reality. So, in the end, there's nothing to really worry about. You have the power, so don't worry about these things. Now, yeah, symbolism, we can't get caught up in these fights about symbolism. I saw this video a long time ago, and yes, it is nice to know what these symbols mean, so we have to be aware of these things, so when we're around it, we don't get pulled in or hypnotized by it. But I'm sure there are many people who are watching this video and who will watch it. We've all been through that phase. We all have. We went through the videos, the conspiracy theories, the illuminati, the symbolism, what this means, and we probably all went through that. The Greys, the underground camps, the FEMA camps. We've been through all those stages, and they were very useful in our development because we should know about these underground activities that go on in our day and age. But when you get to a certain level, all that stuff starts becoming irrelevant because you begin to realize the true nature of yourself, and you start saying, well, okay, even if that is all true, what can I do? What can I do to stop it? And I'm not saying this in a type of sense of being powerless. What I'm saying is, be yourself. When you're being yourself, that is how you help the world. That's how you help other people. By being who you are, naturally and spontaneous. Follow your own intuitions and go your way. And when other people see you going your way, that's how you help the world, and that's how you help them. I help people by just being me. This is who I am, this is what I believe, and I'm going to say what I believe. And one thing that could get people stressed out on this path when they're into expanding their consciousness is trying to debate with other people and force them to believe in these things. Yes, I do like debate. I do like it sometimes because it's a form of entertainment for me now. I don't take it to heart, and I don't get too bent out of shape over it. It's merely entertainment, and I like to hear other people's ideas, what they have to say. But yeah, don't take these things too seriously, and just be who you are. And when you do that, people will, of course, people will hate in the beginning. So this guy, he or she, she's a freak, you know, she's this, she's that, she's crazy, he's crazy. But in the end, you still got your point out, and they have no choice but to respect you. They don't have to respect you, but at least you said what you wanted to say. As long as you're going along, just agreeing with what they're saying, you say, well, a person says, well, I don't believe in none of this consciousness stuff. And you believe it, and you say, yeah, well, maybe you're right. I don't believe in it either. You're not helping anybody. You're not helping them. And forget about them. You're not helping yourself. And these are the contradictions that could cause you, that could prevent you from having these experiences. If you want to go out of body, or have a lucid dream, or do any of these things, and in your private time you're very deep into this, you truly believe it, and when you meet people on the outside and they downplay this and say this is a lot of bull and it's not real and it's BS, and you say, yeah, you're right, maybe it is BS, that's what's blocking you right there and preventing you from having these experiences. You have to believe in it 100%, and if you truly do believe in it, you have to stand by it no matter what, even if everyone is going against you. And I believe Gandhi said the truth is still, even if you're in a minority of one, the truth is still the truth. And I truly believe that. Whether nobody believes me or not, you know, maybe I could be completely just out of my mind. I don't believe so. And because many other people had these experiences. But even if no one did have these experiences, it's still my experience. I know that I go out of body. I know where I go. I know the things that I've seen. I'm aware of time travel and all these other ideas and experiences. And if nobody believed me, and if no one in the world had these experiences, it would still be real for me. So who cares what other people think? And just trying to see if I'm leaving anything else that I want to get into. Yeah, so basically, that is what I wanted to say about those matters. And I know I had something else. I'm sorry, everyone. I write things down because I really hate leaving things out. But, oh yes, that's what I wanted to say. So, the name Seth. Back to Seth again. We're gonna touch back on Seth material stuff. Basically, if you There's been a lot of confusion over the Seth material based on you have the biblical Seth, and then you have the more famous name of Seth, the Egyptian god of chaos. And a lot of people said, well, Seth is the devil, he's a demon, and all this other nonsense. But I do like a story that Seth put out. And in this very short explanation, he was talking about the Egyptian god Seth and what it means to be a Sethite. And I'll just read to you what he said, basically. He wrote, "There was once a god who was not a god, who was not a god, for you are dealing with legends. There was a god in ancient Egypt, and his name was Seth, and he was disreputable. And he threw aside establishments, and whenever other gods rose up and said, 'We are the truth, we are pure, and we are holy,' this disreputable god stood up and with a voice like thunder said, 'You are nincompoops,' meaning idiots, or very foolish. And the other gods did not like him. And whenever they set up their altars, he came like thunder, but playfully, and tossed the altars asunder. And he said, 'Storms are natural and good, and a part of the earth, even as placid skies are. Winds are good, questions are good, males and females are good, even gods and demons are good, if you must believe in demons, but structures are limited.' And so, this god, who was not a god, went about kicking apart the structures, and he gathered about him others who kicked apart the structures. And they were themselves, whether they were male or female, whether they thought of themselves as good or bad, or summer or winter, or as old or as young, they were creators. They were questioners. And whenever another personality set itself up and said, 'I am the God before you, and my word is law,' then Seth went about saying, 'You are a nincompoop,' and began again to kick apart the structures. And so, you are yourselves, in your way, all Seths, for you kick apart the structures, and you are the black sheep of the physicians, and the black sheep of your mothers and fathers, and your sisters and brothers. And yet, the mothers and the fathers, and the sisters and the brothers listen, for they do not have the courage to be the black sheep, and they quail in the voice of the thunder that is so playful, though they do not understand it, for they equate loudness with violence, and they think, excuse me, and they think that female is passive, and the male is aggressive, and that war and violence must always erupt from the reality of mankind. And you are indeed all black sheep of the universe, and Sethites have always been the black sheep of the universe. Now, to be a Sethite, you do not have to follow this Seth. You simply follow the Seth in yourself, and that Seth in you is a questioner, an explorer, and a creator. And the Seth in yourself knows when to passively flow with the wind that blows through the window above a summer town, and when to go against the force of your environment. You were Sethites before you met me, and there was a Seth before I was Seth, and the Spirit follows through the ages as you know them." Now that was a portion from a book called Conversations with Seth by Sue Watkins, and Sue Watkins was a student of Jane Roberts and Seth's ESP class. And yes, basically, what this says to me is that, well, the passage said it so, we are all Seths. And basically, if you go back, do your research on the internet, and just look up the Egyptian god Seth, just to see the storyline behind it. Long story short, he had a lot of haters, man. People didn't like him because he didn't take crap from anybody. The other gods were running around, putting themselves up on pedestals, and basically, he was like the outsider. He was the black sheep, but he was super powerful, and they knew not to screw around with him. And he demanded respect. And basically, he represents individuality. Now, the Seth that Jane Roberts channeled, was this the Egyptian god Seth? Many people say no, many people say yes. We don't know. I believe, just one possibility, who knows, it could have been, as he said in the ending of that story, that there was a Seth before he was Seth, and the energy continues through the ages. Um, it's possible that it was the Egyptian god Seth coming to us in modern times. And when I say God, even he said in the story, a God who was not a God. It was probably just a personality type that, excuse me, like himself had these powers. And basically, from my understanding of it, I believe that if it was the Egyptian god Seth, he never focused on saying that he was the Egyptian god Seth because he didn't want the material to be taken out of context. And people focusing just on, okay, it's the Egyptian god Seth, and it's the devil and all this other stuff. Another point, I think, of why he chose the name Seth to use, and he said it himself that his name wasn't Seth, but he said that Jane Roberts and her husband, Robert Butts, could call him Seth, but he never said his name was Seth. He simply said, you can call me Seth, because he just liked to use that name. But it wasn't his only name because he's had many other existences and still has other existences outside of time and space. And I truly believe that he chose that name also to kind of not separate people, but to get people who are really open-minded to come to this material. Because when this material came out, I'm probably sure many people thought, oh no, the Seth material, this is the Egyptian god of chaos and evil and darkness, and it's definitely bad, and it's the devil, we shouldn't touch it. And people who have gone to that and completely just sidestepped and ignored all of that, dogma, they came into some truly powerful material. If they were stuck in their paradigm of belief, those people did not come into it just based off of the name Seth. So I like to believe, and I feel that he cleverly chose that name. If it was the Egyptian god Seth or not the Egyptian god Seth, I like to feel that he chose that name very cleverly to, from what I want to say, kind of separate, the true people who really want to get down and deep into themselves, and the people who want to follow a lot of crap as far as dogmas and very strict religions. This material is not about following anyone. I mean, even though he puts forth these ideas, the material is really about you. And he said it himself many times. Yes, this is his perspective for reality because he's outside of it, but if you feel it's another way, go your way. Do your own thing. You don't even have to listen to him. So this is why I chose to have my username as Seth Dark Arts. Seth because I like that name, and we're all Seths. And if you are a person who does not like rules and regulations of a strict type with dogma, then you probably are a Seth also, and you have a Seth inside of you. Now, I'm not saying you have to call your inner self Seth. That's a choice if you want to, but we are all Seths in the sense of rebels who refuse to just bow down to anyone and take, we like to question authority. And I'm not saying we should go out and start a revolution. All right, let's fight. Well, if you want to, but all I'm trying to say is that this material is for truly the open-minded and people who are ready to go beyond all of these other very limiting ideas of thought. And there was another passage, not a passage, it was a quote that he had said that I found it very, very interesting. And of course, because I want to read it to you now, I probably won't be able to find it. And the camera's still running. But yeah, I'm going to try to look for this as I'm talking to you all. But yeah, once again, thank you everybody for your support and these issues and coming in, writing questions in, and really just taking an interest in these areas. Truly appreciate it. And alright, I can't find what I was looking for right now, of course, even though I had it before. But basically, what I was looking for was a quote from Seth, and he was basically saying about limitations and how if you label yourself you are just setting up limitations for yourself, and they're basically usually very limiting um, limitations that you place upon yourself. So we should really try to move beyond the labels. We should really try to get out of this idea of keeping labels and trying to fall within certain paradigms of belief, because when we do that, it limits our powers. We are really powerful, and we don't necessarily need any labels of anything. We can just be who we are, and being who we are will result in us helping each other as brothers and sisters and helping the world. And I found a comment here. Sorry, I was on a rant there. Very simply, it said, Seth said, as soon as you label yourself, you are setting limitations, putting up boundaries, and defining the reality of your psyche, usually according to quite limited beliefs. Yes, so defining your psyche with limited beliefs. That's what he said, and I have to go with that because it makes sense. So scrap the labels, tap into your own power, and I apologize if this video was a little unorganized. But hey, man, sometimes you have to be unorganized, and you don't have to always follow strict rules. So that's all I have to say for now. Man, this video is kind of long. I didn't realize that. Sorry. But yeah, hit me up. Let me know what you all think. Comments. Yeah. I believe the next time I'll probably go into the different forms that people can take when they go out of body. But for right now, this is all I have to say. So peace, love, and harmony, as always. Tap into that inner self that's within you. Be a rebel. Don't follow the rules. Don't follow anyone else's rules. Don't follow my rules. I don't even have rules, so I'm not putting down any dogma for anyone. I'm simply saying, go your way, do your thing, and you have unimaginable power, and you need to start tapping into that. So that's it for now, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.